the first panel. So, ladies and gentlemen, our first panel is titled, Let's All Move to Riyadh. I've been here for 48 hours and I already feel like doing so. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage our first panelist, Mr. Khalid Al-Zayani, the honorary chairman of Al-Zayani Investments. Zayani Investments BSC operates a diverse portfolio of businesses in industry, banking, automotive, healthcare, real estate services, businesses, and food and beverages. Mr. Al-Zayani serves as a board member of various business committees and societies. Mr. Khalid, thank you very much, sir. And his opinions are almost always welcome, and he causes a lot of controversy, so keep an eye on it. Next up for this panel is Dana Al-Alami, the founder of Dana Al-Alami Jewelry from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Please welcome Dana to the stage. She's got jewelry factories over in Jeddah, Dubai, Antwerp. Dana Al-Alami Auctions just organized an auction of hand-selected collection of rare and one-of-a-kind, high-value jewelry. The auction raised $100 million. Thank you very much, Dana. Go ahead. Next up, someone who I had to do a lot of research about. She has a lot of titles to her name. Please welcome to the stage Ms. Khulud Al-Dukhail, founder and CEO of Irtiqa Financial Company. So many titles.
Sorry.
I just chose the last one.
Sorry.
Don't worry about it. And last but not least, Mr. Assam Al-Bakr, CEO and founder of Ijada Capital, by the way, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Please welcome Mr. Assam Al-Bakr. Mr. Assam. Ijada Capital is a financial institution that focuses on trade finance, venture capital, advisory, and arrangement services. Take your time, Mr. Assam. Take your time. Okay. All right, let's start off with an easy one. The latest what's the latest in Saudi Arabia's effort in tempting and attracting businesses to Saudi Arabia? Mr. Assam Al-Bakr, I'm going to start with you since you're being the pole position on the table. Yes, you can press that.
You want to start with me?
Yeah, we're going to start in, what's the latest in Saudi Arabia's effort in tempting businesses to come over? You can catch yourself on that.
Well, I mean, well, thank you very much for the opportunity. This is my second time speaking, and I owe it to Hamad al-Hajj, and I congratulate him for debuting in Saudi, and I think this is going to be the beginning of a lot of great conferences here in Saudi to be organized by you guys. Well, I mean, you can't really put it in one word or one sentence, but I think the effort is more or less double, if not on various fronts. You have the Ministry of Investment, really doubling its effort to attract a lot of the HQ relocations to Saudi. Ourselves, we're doing our own effort through our VC fund, which is a dual strategy pre-revenue Series A, which has a Saudi angle of HQ relocation. That wouldn't happen if Ministry of Investment did not allow for the ease of obtaining entrepreneur license, like their entrepreneur license, which they've come out with a couple of years back, and that has been gaining a lot of tractions. Their soft landing program. All of these are aimed at attracting, not attracting just HQs, attracting entrepreneurs to set up shop, to really domesticate themselves here and scale up in one of the largest, if not the largest, economy in Saudi Arabia. PIF, they're actually also doing a lot of efforts in attracting investments and HQs into Saudi Arabia. Ministry of Tourism, we see the Tourism Development Fund joining hands in various investments to attract a lot of the main players in tourism. So there is a lot of different efforts, but primarily spearheading all of them is the Ministry of Investment, and we see that happening. One of the most important things, at least on the level of Riyadh City, you have RCRC, which is Riyadh City, the Royal Commission for Riyadh City, and they have been engaged in a very extensive process of attracting a lot of investments and businesses to relocate to Saudi Arabia, namely through changing the mandate and the theme of King Abdullah Financial City, which is basically going to allow the ease of many businesses relocating. And we see that evident happening today with a lot of interest from a lot of companies wanting to really set up shop here. So, I mean, it's a long discussion, but I think these are some of the highlights.
Some of the updates,
yeah.
yes. Ms. Khulud, I'm going to change up the question a little bit, okay? So I saw an interview for you around 2017, and you weren't very optimistic around the changes. You had a little. So 2017 till 2022, did anything change for you, and if so, why?
So this is not new. What is new today and what is really, really exciting is the energy that has been unleashed in the new ecosystem which has been rebuilt. If many people tell us what's different about the 2030 vision than what's happening in other places or in Saudi itself, because previously the 2030 vision was the 5-year economic development plans. It's the political will and the way to manage and execute in a different way, and it's all about execution. Anna, today I have various hats. I am on the board of Riyadh Chamber of Commerce, lobbying for the challenges of the private sector, and I also head the committee for the financial sector. By education and training, I'm an investment banker, and I head my own investment bank. It's a small bank, new bank. Anyways, but I've been involved in floating most of the companies in the stock exchange, and I am very passionate about helping the private sector find sources of funding, whether it's debt or equity. I see tremendous change in the ecosystem, and when we say what does it take for companies to come to Saudi, and I think actually I would just say one thing is that first of all, I don't believe in trying to convince people to come to Saudi, and I think what we need is just to reveal what opportunities are here, because investors in the end of the day want to make money, number one, and want it to be sustainable. Maybe today we have many objectives that we need in our investments, including ESG compliance. But it's about having a new ecosystem that is built on new regulations that every day we're still changing. Maybe in 2016, when the vision was announced, it was just a dream. We didn't even believe it because it called for so many things. Today, we're living this change. Maybe as a woman, I can tell you that driving has been the most important. Anyways, so just to make a long answer short, I believe that today Saudi offers so many great opportunities, not only from the government. The government, for example, announced $60 billion worth of privatization. This in itself, this is if you're catering for the government. The private sector is being completely I would say in one angle because of the fiscal policy that maybe created a lot of challenges for the old traditional businesses, and we all know all the stories, for lack of payment or zakat or whatever, and I think it is, many call it as collateral damage to the change, has allowed the private sector now to change its model. So this is what, and I think this change is creating great opportunities. The need that we need, which I think is a great opportunity, is we need a human capital and we need knowledge. So both of this, I think the world can offer this, and I think Saudi has still not yet lived. I mean, we still have not revealed. We have not yet revealed all the opportunities. But I think for now it's a great place. Thank you.
Such a great, sewn together answer. Dana, I'm gonna refer you to the same question, but I just want you to add a little bit of the flavor to it, because you've got factories in Dubai, Jeddah, and a business in Antwerp that all cater to the jewelry market. So I want you to color your answer with comparing and contrasting with these three different places.
Okay, first of all, thank you for letting me to give me this opportunity to participate with you in this conference. I tried a lot to be with you in Dubai, but unfortunately I cannot. But I'm happy to be with you today. For me, let me talk about the mining and the future of the mining in Saudi Arabia, because they are recently. Okay, this is fine. Okay, the latest thing in Saudi, let's say about the future mining summit, and the Saudi targets investment of $170 billion in mining by 2030, and they are issued new regulations to invest in mining and making it easy for investors to search and mine and valuable minerals. And the investors can finance up to 75% in their investment by Saudi Industrial Fund. So I think the future, it will be in the industry, in the mining in Saudi Arabia. And there's lots of opportunities for lots of investors to come and invest in Saudi.
Okay, Mr. Khalid Al-Zayan, you've been taking a ton of notes. So I'm not gonna even give you a question, so just read your notes, Mr. Khalid. Go ahead.
Well, I am going to be slightly critical of our meeting today, simply because I believe that we are in the GCC one country, one home, one economy. And I'm hoping that we become less tribal and more so as one economy. We want to be like EC. We want to have our economies open to each other. I want to see the Saudi investing in Bahrain, in Dubai, in Qatar, in Kuwait. I want to see every citizen of the Gulf investing in Saudi Arabia. No restrictions, no preference. This is how we come out of being tribal into becoming a good, strong economy, attached to each other, serving a whole economy, same people, same culture, same history and destiny. So I'm a little critical of your address here. How can Riyadh compete with Dubai when it comes to business headquarters? Come on, we don't need that.
I didn't write that. I didn't do it.
But I'm just explaining to you. We want to compete with each other, but let's put names to it. It's not right. The Bahraini is allowed to come and do whatever he likes. The Saudi is allowed to come and do whatever he likes in Bahrain. Buy land, own banks, have gardens, homes. We don't restrict that. The Bahraini is not allowed to do that in Saudi Arabia. Restricted amount of space he can buy for agricultural investment. You cannot own unless you have certain partnership with the Saudi Arabian. I can name you several banks in Bahrain, owned majority by Saudi Arabians, thriving in Bahrain. We don't object. You can buy the whole of Bahrain. if you have the money. What can Bahrainis buy out of Saudi Arabia with so much smaller number and capital? So we're not a threat to Saudi Arabia. We're a partner to Saudi Arabia. We belong to Saudi Arabia and they belong to us. So our culture has to be more mature and we have to live in true solidarity with each other. I would love to see Saudi Arabia thriving. And I can assure you, this is my hope. When Saudi Arabia said you have to have the headquarters of your bank in Saudi Arabia, under the monetary of Saudi Arabian Central Bank, we did that. And it's thriving. But I want to ask you, I'm exporting goods manufactured in Bahrain to Saudi Arabia. And I was told that the Saudi Arabian manufacturer will have a 10% advantage over me. Why? I cannot afford to lose the Saudi Arabian market, so I made another factory in Saudi Arabia so that not to lose the Saudi market. This is a waste of capital, waste of energy. We belong to each other. In my Saudi manufacturing, my partners, 50% are Saudis. And we've been doing the world, not just Saudi Arabia. 25% of our production of that factory goes to the United States. The whole MENA countries does not represent even 18% of our total capacity. We belong to each other, and I want to ask you, as organizers, not to repeat this error. I call it an error because it is an error. We either one economy, one GCC, or not. So let's work together. And the person who does it well will succeed in moving the business, whether it is to Riyadh, to Jeddah, to Saudi Arabia, to Kuwait. This is a free market to all of us. We're only a small number of people. We should unite rather than differentiate. I don't care if it is a Bahraini or a Dubai or Saudi Arabia. And by the way, Saudi Arabia has to win the majority because they have the highest of wealth, the biggest of market, and the greatest of potential. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Khan. Ms. Khulud, you can go ahead.
Thank you for these enlightening and energetic comments. I want to say, I believe we are more united than divided as countries and as people. And I also think that there is much maturity that needs to happen in all our countries in terms of investment and directing it, as I say, global out of our countries. So I don't believe that the GCC political decisions are driven by economic kind of benefits at a micro level in terms of society and private business decisions. At a government, yes, they are driven by political decisions because we are, the GCC. However, I think that the private sector has been unleashed under this new vision. When I mean unleashed, has been given the power to grow, or at least designed to grow, and it should take into considerations, beautiful messages you are saying that we do have to unite from an economic point of view. But unless an investment is economically viable for the business, nobody's going to go cross-border. Now, I think that it's a learning curve, and I think that a lot of the regulations that are being now revamped, and unfortunately, in many issues, it appears to be a zero-sum game. So they put fees from here, but yeah, because you are already working within an existing old ecosystem. I know that the intention from all parties is to try to create more benefit, of course, for your people first and then for outside. So I think what you're saying has some truth, is that we as decision makers, as where to invest and where to deploy, should think in a more of a bigger market, I would say. I definitely think that there is a new role that we have to play as private sector, which will include us educating ourselves. And in order to assist the government to redesign policies and procedures that will create economic benefit. And my objective is economic benefit, which will lead us to diversification, that will lead us to the sustainability. Thank you.
Should I just weigh in?
Go ahead.
Well, she was eager to go before me, that's all. Anyways, everyone is prepared with their notes, except me. Well, first of all, thank you very much for being so candid and honest. And I'm going to be very candid and honest with you as well. Everything that we do here in this country, it's for the people of this country. We've been lagging for a very long time, and we never complained. We had so much wastage in capital, in resources, and everything. But when we started really more or less bringing and rallying around, empowering the country's potential youth and transforming the country, all of this is aimed towards the people of the country and the economy. It's not towards anyone else. Saudi Arabia cannot wait for anyone if they're lagging. And we cannot really custom make all of our policies and economic plans based on the liking of others. It's either you join us and you can really embrace what we're doing and benefit from it. 60% of my workforce are Bahrainis. And most of them, they're here. And they never thought that this country is different than the other. They cross the border almost on a weekly basis. And they're happy and everyone is enjoying it. Why? Because they feel that they are part of the same society. They never looked at themselves as a stranger within this economy or this society. Question is, Saudi Arabia is the largest investor in the Arab world. Saudi Arabia is the largest investor in the GCC, even in Bahrain, even in UAE. I didn't see anyone coming and trying to outbid us or even try and say, all right, we're going to be promoting investing in Saudi. Saudi Arabia saves you a lot of money. You have resources here. The cost of doing business here considerably is much cheaper than anywhere else, even in Bahrain. Okay? Bahrain, I have to give it to you. I love Bahrain and I love the people there, and they have at least a generation, second, third, fourth generation of bankers and finance, and no one has it in the region. But when we look at what Saudi Arabia is going to do, it's going to appear every time new policies come out, every time new plans come out, to really develop and harness the potential of what is in this country. Everyone is going to say, all right, this is aimed towards us. No, it's not aimed towards us. And we're not competing with Dubai. Saudi Arabia never ever tried to compete with UAE or with anyone. This is a G20 economy. I mean, it's part of, by far the GDP between the second largest GDP in the region is probably UAE, and it's almost 50% difference. Question is, the further that we go, and we're always, by the way, united. We're very united in our spirits. We're very united in our destiny. However, we would like to see a lot of the others within the region really embracing and coming on board, not trying to really outbid what Saudi Arabia is doing. There's one thing very important. This HQ relocation has really caught a lot of controversies recently. It is not aimed towards anyone in the region, literally. It is the government way of saying, I don't want to be remote managed. Isn't it that they're right? It's their right. You want to serve me. You want me to award you a contract. Honestly, I would rather you manage it here. Not every week hopping on a plane and back and forth. Why? Because we would like most of that money to be reused, recycled here, at least in employment. Saudi Arabia has a very important mandate, which is employing Saudis. And that is going to continue at least for the next 10, 20 years. So I think there's a bit of confusion, but I really appreciate, Khalid, your candid conversation and opening up the platform for such a discussion. Why? Because it allows people like myself, Khulud, and others to really take a one-on-one conversation where we can clarify it and really show a Saudi point of view. It's very important to understand. I've been speaking a lot on many conferences, and a lot of people say, we're a little bit confused. We don't understand what's coming out of there. Can you explain it? Hearing our point of view as a citizen, as someone relies heavily on what's happening in this country and what is going to manifest from all of these plans, this 2030, etc., and the vision plan, it's very important for others who are not familiar with where do we see our destination and where do we see our goals and where are we heading, so at least they can hear not a second-hand opinion. It's actually our view when it comes to where we see ourselves in the midst of this transformation. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Maybe I have a small comments about competing with Dubai exactly. So why should they think when we have like a good lifestyle in Saudi, in Riyadh, new restaurants, new entertainment things, international hotels, why do they think that we need to compete? It's not competing. We are willing to have this good lifestyle in Saudi. That's it.
Well, I'm going to get back to Ms. Khulud. I wanted, let's move beyond the point of competition. Let's put that to the side for a minute. Are there any opportunities for synergies that would lead to growth? Synergies, if we try to put competition to the side for a minute, what are the opportunities for growth in terms of synergies in that front? Can you please comment on that?
Sure. I do want to say, although I know you want us to talk about competition, competition is healthy. And I understand your question, and I just want to say something that I'm not opposed to this question, because in reality, a few years ago, a lot of us would travel outside the kingdom to see a movie, to drive. This is the reality. Today, this has all been changed, and we have evolved, and yes, from an economic point of view, we have seen hotels being empty because people are, okay, forget the corona, but the reality is when I'm traveling with my kids, I have other options now to travel or not to travel. So that's a healthy competition, I think. It's good. Anyways, you said whether there were synergies. I think, are you meaning for me to invest outside Saudi in the GCC, or what synergies?
Synergies, whether it's in or out, how can we maximize the power to make sure that everyone, or if it's possible that everyone benefits?
I think there is an untapped power in the GCC. There is an untapped power, and here I stand with Mr. Khalid. Of course, bigger market, bigger supply, different economies. We have not leveraged this because we have been inward invested for good reason. I mean, we are really living an explosion of changes. This is something that has changed us personally for many years. Now, I think we are embarking on the 5th year, so we are just absorbing it now. Now, companies, part of the sustainability of companies is to grow beyond their borders. I mean, we know that companies need to export. We have invested ourselves here in an Exim Bank. We have so much support for companies to grow their businesses and to go abroad and diversify. This is all part of sustainability. To do that, obviously, you need to grow looking at synergies. I have to put in that word in my answer. I mean, synergies, always looking for synergies and improving is a way of improving your operations. So no, I think that we have not only massive opportunities still untapped in the kingdom that have been unleashed due to the new plans, as my friend Essam mentioned, new regulations. Literally every day we are having a new, something new that comes up that needs to trickle down to the private sector. This is beyond the capacity of the private sector in Saudi to do it, and it needs to be done with others. And who better than our neighbors? So I do think that there's great opportunities beyond what is happening in Saudi if we also collaborate. One of our new themes is to go global in all our businesses. Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
Nothing pleases me more than successful Saudi Arabia.
And women,
Especially women. Especially women. Let me just explain to you something. The opening up of Saudi Arabia is a blessing for the whole Gulf. You are our leaders. As I said it earlier, you are leaders in economy, in culture. Women in Saudi Arabia, they have potential, unleashed, and goodness. And you have skills we're proud of. Men, young men, well-educated young men, they have potential that will make them lead in the Gulf. And nothing pleases me than to see a Saudi Arabian economy boosting and leading the Gulf. Let's get that straight. But let's make it a fair competition. That's all I'm asking. Saudi Arabia will win and will always be the leader for this part of the world because you have the highest number of people. You have a population which is highly educated and suppressed, which are now unleashed, which is excellent. And Saudi Arabia has all the potential for investments. Investments will come pouring onto Saudi Arabia. Don't forget that you have the potential. How much do we have in Bahrain? How much does UAE have in its own capacity? They don't even have the population. You have every potential of being leaders. Don't be afraid. Have courage to involve us and include us with you. We need leadership from Saudi Arabia to make us better than EC. That's all I'm asking.
I want to go past beyond the composition and just highlight a couple of things that is evidence of single benefactors of what's happening in Saudi. Let me give you one example. Entertainment. This is a new industry in Saudi. Tourism is a new industry in Saudi. By far, most of our neighbors have decades of experience and development in these areas. If I would look at the track record of the seasons, Riyadh season, Jeddah seasons, and so on and so forth, for the past at least 2 or 3 years since they started organizing it, the single benefactor of the seasons and entertainments and F&B are mainly companies that are based in UAE, IPs coming from there. I don't see any Saudi company, seldom that you see, very few numbers that are benefiting. So the question is, who's really benefiting from developing this industry? So I come and I ask, the Saudis are reversing everything. Instead of outward investment, they're taking all of their money and investing it inwards. Why? Because all the red tapes has been more or less cut and everything is open. So you have entertainment, you have tourism, and many new industries. And you have a huge population with very massive purchasing power. So I come to everyone who had a lead in hospitality, tourism, F&B, etc., etc. I said, you are in a better position to help develop these industries in Saudi. Doesn't matter whether you're based in Bahrain, or you're based in Kuwait, or you're based here. They're all the same countries. For me, if you ask me, okay, Dubai will continue to be very essential and very integral part of the GCC ecosystem when it comes to the economic benefits for everyone. However, I see benefits are trickling down towards everyone, especially when you look at something that is visible and we interact with it on a daily basis. This exploding gastronomy and F&B scene in this country. And a lot of them are either brands that has been created in Lebanon, in Jordan, in Egypt, in Bahrain, in UAE, IPs on different entities. If you could see the number and the staggering number of how much the General Authority for Entertainment invests in all of these seasons, a lot of them are going, it's fair competition. You compete with your IP. If it's acceptable, yes. You know, we're going to endorse it, we're going to include it part of our lineup for entertainment. So, it's benefiting everyone, except if you are not quick, shrewd, to really capture all of these opportunities, or some of them, that's based on your own business acumen. If you cannot really retool your business to really capture some of what's happening in Saudi. But I see a lot of the people that I worked with in the GCC, and they say, you know what? We can sit on the sidelines and just look at things, or we can just join. So they made the smart decision, and you know what? I'm moving my business there. So what? It's the same country. At least I'll save more money. So we see synergy. So the question is there synergy? Absolutely, there is tremendous synergy. And we can go through the list, but I'm just naming a few. Thanks.
Mr. Hassan, what are the main opportunities for investment for people to come in and invest? Like what sectors? You highlighted right now, entertainment, tourism. What other sectors that are hot right now?
You have every sector. You have transportation. You have financial services. I mean, we're seeing a lot of emerging fund managers setting up shop here. Why? Because the laws has changed. It's been modified to allow emerging fund managers to come and set up without really incurring a huge capital or committing for a huge capital to set up their fund. That's one investment. And you have the Saudi government graciously investing in an emerging fund manager, namely whether it's through SPC, whether it's through Jeddah, etc. Then you have entertainment, tourism. You have, what's it called, the Tourism Development Fund. Tourism development does not discriminate against anyone. They don't care your color, your creed, who, whatever you are. You got a good idea? You know what? We'll invest with you. Come, set up here. The General Authority for Entertainment, the same. So you have most of these development funds working hand in hand with investors. So yes, we are developing. It's a huge market. It's a huge market. It's a very diverse market. Saudi Arabia is not going to grow younger. You think the Saudis are not going to populate? They're going to populate from now until the day of judgment. So you're going to see this number doubling, if not tripling, at least in the next 30 or 40 years. So yes, as long as we are shrewd and smart in really making the best of our investment and utilizing it in the right way.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to go to closing remarks, Ms. Khulud, because this is going to be a huge discussion from the crowd. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a ton of questions.
Just very quickly to add to my friend Assam, because I know this is a basic question of where do we invest. طبعا you have two ways to look at it. Either look at the government highlighted sectors, which is covered by the announced plans, whether it's healthcare or education or transportation, or look at the website for the National Privatization Center, where they have announced more than $60 billion worth of projects, and you can actually even subscribe there, and they have RFPs and etc. This is if you're going with long-term government projects. Private sector, I would say, as my friend Assam said, every sector you look at has massive ability for investments. The question is, where do I invest? And it's about being able to set up here, and this is a function of regulation, and now we have the Ministry of Investment. I've never thought Saudi to be a difficult place to invest in anyways in the past, by the way, but the difficulty was lack of regulation or risks, basically, that any investor would not. But the demand has always been huge. The need for all basic services in all industries is there. But the difference today is that we have a well-developed infrastructure and legal sector, legal framework that is tilted towards two very critical things: empowering the private sector to do more, and number two, foreign direct investment. So these are clear messages that in the past, maybe a foreigner would feel that they're a second-class citizen, whether it's a foreigner or GCC, or let me say non-Saudi. But today, no, in some areas there is more focus to support the foreign investments or non-Saudi. Now that said, it's not all rose and glory, because we are still in the process of changing. The very important change, and I can say this from the member of the Council of Chambers or Riyadh Chamber of Commerce, is that something has changed in the rules for the game, which is the government and the private sector are now sitting on the same table. All regulations go through public consultations. Doors are open, emails of ministers are out there, you have access to anyone pretty much if you have a solid case or a message to improve. Even the issue of competition or lack of. The government wants the private sector, be it local or, by the way, GCC or international. They want us to lead the change by defining what are the business requirements that we need. A case in point is fintech and what's happening in fintech in the sandboxes. So, the great opportunity, it's not that the demand has always been here, the money has always been here, but access to it in a risk-averse way that can enable investors, local or international, get sustainable return. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Dan, go ahead, please.
For, let's say, about the mandates for in the e-services, you get all the regulations and permits easily online, the funding from the government sources, the tax breaks, the priority of government contracts, the visitor residency. And we don't think it's a strict mandate to ask the companies that deals with government to open the HQ in Riyadh. It's logical for companies who sign hundreds of billions or millions of contracts in Saudi to have a HQ in their largest market in the region.
Thank you. Mr. Khalid?
I have caused controversy.
As usual, Mr. Khalid.
No, nonsense. You did not. You actually stirred everything. You made it very interesting. Thank you.
I have caused a controversy, which I apologize for. That's not what I meant to do. What I meant to do is that Saudi Arabia is our leader in this region. Saudi Arabia is the largest market in this region. Saudi Arabia has the largest number of people in this region. There is no family in the Gulf that hasn't got roots in Saudi Arabia. We came from mainland Saudi Arabia, our family. We still have our family in Saudi Arabia. This is our homeland. We want leadership from Saudi Arabia to unite us, to open our markets onto each other. We believe that we do have such a leadership now, and this is an opportunity for us to jump to a higher scale of unity. That's what I meant to say.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for all the panelists. What an informative panel. We're going to open the floor for quick questions, 2 minutes, 3 minutes tops, because we're going to have an open discussion later where everybody can participate. Any questions from the floor, ladies and gentlemen? Going once? Oh wow, no questions? Twice? And 3, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.